I'm back once again. I'm thanking God, sitting here in the truck waiting. So, I want to finish up from yesterday, and I have to take a step back. And a lot of you all that's my Facebook friends, you might know a little something about this, but those that really know me personally. But so I'm gonna bag it up from yesterday when I was talking about, the light in the time of darkness, in your time of darkness. So, and as a child. So I went over when I was a teenager how I was living on the streets and on drugs and all that. So I'm gonna take a step back even further than that. Told you I was gonna share it with you. So I'm gonna take a step back. So when I was six, uh, there was a tragic house fire. So, and this had to devastate my family. Me being that young, I didn't know the effects and all of that. Being at that age, and being in that type of being traumatized in that type of way. So the house caught on fire and it was three of us. I was the oldest, I was six. So my cousin and my sister was in the fire. My cousin died in the fire. She died. So my sister, I saved her. She didn't have a scar. So, when I went through that physical pain and so it wasn't I didn't well at the time we didn't know nothing about mental pain so and being that young, but now I realize how it affected my life moving forward, the older I got. So everything changed for me, the way I looked, and so being a small child like that. So when I integrated, went back to school after about a year, my mom, we was in the hospital or whatever. We didn't even get, the funeral wasn't. We didn't probably go to that. It was just a devastating time. I could just imagine in my mind for the whole family. So, for me personally, me going back to school, the kids, being kids, see me different. So, that was a thing, oh, you burn up. They wasn't used to that. So that wasn't nothing abnormal, but it still didn't change the fact of how it affected me. So I began to struggle with that, and so I would fight and get into trouble and, stayed in the trouble. So you could say from that point on, I became a troubled child by tragedy, by something that happened in my life that the children around me didn't understand. And people deal with that. Children deal with that every day. And we have to understand that the things that we put our children through, even though this was a tragedy, this was, the things that we put our children through, it affects them. It affects them, as an adolescent, and then it affects them as they grow into man or womanhood. So that's why we, as parents, we have to really try to watch the things that we expose our kids to at an early age. But anyway, I was, so I was angry as a kid. So I growed up in that, and you can kind of get the picture. So me being that young, it was God all the time. It was God that allowed me to save my sister and then go back to try to save my cousin and get scarred up. So this was God. He took a life. He spared two of our lives. My sister don't have a scratch on her, and I was scarred. So in that, I could still see God. I could still see how pain through darkness, a light always shines. You know, even then, God had his hand on my life. But me not being aware of it. Grandma was real godly. You know, like most people know her. You know, she was real, you know, into the church and taught us how to pray. And, you know, back then, the home was home. People helped each other. People loved each other. You know, people looked out for each other. If one person killed the hog, everybody ate pork. So, you know, just one of them kind of things. So the neighborhood, and it was just love everywhere, man. But back to the point, even in that dark time, you know, I can look back now and see God's presence. So, and this is how, when we tap into now, as we become men and women, we tap into this. We look back and we can see God's hand on our lives, even as a child. So now that I have the understanding, and he's brought me to this point where I understand the will of God for my life and I apply it to my life, this gives my life meaning. This gives me as a man value. I value my thoughts. I value what I do. Remember I told you, putting God before you. So now before I react or respond or do anything, I consult God first. I wouldn't have learned that without going through something. See, I'm not telling you nothing I heard. This is what I went through, you know. And this just the tip of the iceberg. What I'm gonna break down to you, and now just seeing, you know, me as that become a man. You know, we all struggle with something. We all got struggles. We all done been through something. It's people done been through worse things than I have been through, but when we get to the other side of those things that we think have came to destroy us, that's where we find the peace that surpasses all understanding. That's when we start to understand and gain the wisdom of God. And that's the only way we can apply that to our lives. So me going back, getting a glimpse of what scarred me, what had me behaving in such a way, you know, not understanding that behavior, where that behavior came from, not being able to relate to that, caused me a lot of unnecessary heartaches and having no sense of direction. But once you realize that after the pain, there's something wonderful. Once you get through the pain, that's just like working out. When you first start working out, it hurts. You sore, you know, because that muscle ain't used to that. But after the pain and you start seeing your body take form, take a different shape, and you start feeling your strength coming. See, this is the same thing with God. After you done been in this dark place for so long, and you start to God start to pick you up out of this place. You start to, you can feel the power of God. You can feel the presence of God. You start to understand that. So now when you go through something, you know it's to get you to something. I'll be back.